All right. Well, hello, and welcome everyone to our BG5 Live. It's great to have all of you here with us, whether you are in our Zoom room, whether you're watching us via Facebook Live, or whether you're watching us on YouTube or via one of the recordings. So it's great to have you all here. Today is June 23rd. It's 2020. This is episode number 58. And today we're going to be talking about the love of humanity. And before we get started, of course, let's say hello to our panel. And Natalie just jumped in. So welcome, Natalie. How was your time at the beach?
Lovely. It's just perfect weather here.
Oh.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it, and I made it in time.
Yay! Yeah. Well, thank you for jumping on. It's great to see you. Welcome, welcome. And hey, Lavina, welcome.
Hi, guys. Glad to be here.
Great to have you. Welcome, welcome. And Chris.
Hello, everyone. We're so glad you're here today on this nice, hot summer day. Welcome.
Well, perfect. All right, so let's dive in and take a look at, we're going to be taking a look at trait 15, and what we are going to take a look at is the love of humanity. Now, I decided to put together a little weather forecast for today, just kind of going through what some of the traits are. This is also, these two strengths are going to be around for the next week. So this is kind of a weather report for the week as well. So I just thought it'd be an interesting way to kind of start off as we're taking a look at the love of humanity. Not only is it in the core essence, it's also in the future direction as well. So if we take a look at today's forecast, it's about universalizing the love of humanity. And because it's in the 15.5, so it's about universalizing the love of humanity. And with the, so here comes my kitty. Right in front of my screen. Come on. You seem to move. Come on. All right, sorry about that. Oh, great. She decided to decorate my screen here. Okay.
Oh my God.
Sorry about that.
We have love of cats today.
Love of cats, exactly.
Love of cats.
Love of all diversity. Yay.
Yeah,
we exactly. Diversity and extremes, exactly.
Oh,
so what I was saying is really taking a look at, and again, like I said, this is going to be around really for the next week, this universalizing of the love of humanity with communication. That with communication, it's provoking, and it's provoking by bypassing obstacles. So if we take a look at communication right here, it's also realizing what's unusual. So realization in the 24 is part of what's defined in the 61-24. So realizing what's unusual as irrationality maintained and legitimized by success. We also may feel a pressure to know inner truth. This has been around for a little while. We've been talking about this for a while, but this pressure to know inner truth through transformation and our personal law to protect us through influence and research. This is also the ability to stay grounded by standing in higher principles. So this other strength that's going to be defined for the next week is the strength of higher principles. So staying grounded by standing for higher principles through the value of contemplation in the now, which leads to wisdom. And there's also a maturing energy right here. And we can see the maturing energy is in crisis. There's a maturing energy that crisis leads to justice. The knowing that the powers of darkness eventually destroy themselves. Those whom the gods wish to destroy, they first make mad. So I just thought that was interesting because it seems like we're seeing a lot of that currently in all of the craziness that's going on in the world. So I just wanted to share that first, just as an introduction, and I would love to hear Lavina or Natalie or Chris, if there's anything that you would like to add or anything that you see in kind of taking a look at today, but also kind of taking a look at, like I said, particularly these two strengths are going to be around for the next week. Anything, Lavina, that you would like to add?
Yeah, when you're taking a look at transits like this and they're hanging around for a week, it's a real great opportunity, particularly if you have this function undefined, to notice what's different about you this week. So if we could pick on the identity and direction function, if we could look at that as maybe you observing yourself or the world around you, always wanting to talk about behavior and what are the higher principles that we need to follow for all of us as humanity to get along. And in the world of COVID-19 and the police brutality and all of these different chaoses and confusions that are happening in the world around us, you might find yourself participating in the conversation. So it's just something to notice. If you feel like you have to, talk about your behavior in this now, just be cognizant of where is that voice coming from. Is it something that really is authentic to you, or are you swimming along with the tide of everybody else and being homogenized to see these things and examine these things in detail, because that's just what the weather is. So remember, there's nothing wrong with being a part of the weather, but don't let it make you decide to do something different than what your personal decision-making strategy is.
Yeah, beautiful point, Lavina. Thank you for sharing that, because I think it is something really important to pay attention to. How about for you, Chris?
Well, I was just thinking about it and like sort of putting it in another personal way of it is where, if you don't have the trait 10 or trait 20 defined in your design, and both of these, like for me, these are both undefined in my design, both functions and the traits, is noticing where I have a certain sense of having my own back and really being present in the moment to that, where I may not typically have that energy access. Is kind of what Lavina is saying. Like, I think she was talking about it a little bit more in the transit, or like in the collective, because we're all experiencing it. But for me, is in like taking it to my personal experience of, wow, where am I suddenly feeling sort of like, no, like that's not going to happen anymore. Like I'm really present to what works or does not work for me, and that in that realm. Does that?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what
exactly. And just like Lavina was saying, it's those behaviors in the now that work or don't work. And really standing in a sense for those higher principles. And again, watching where it is true for you and correct for you, right? And following your decision-making strategy, and where you may get swept up, with the collective. But I think, like you said, Chris, it's really important to take a look at how it affects you on that personal level as well.
Right. But, again, the point going to then, how does my sacral respond to it? And that's what I'm listening to. So, yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's really fascinating. Anything, Natalie, that you would like to add?
No, let me talk about the 15 when it's when we continue.
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, I just thought this was be a fun way just to kind of start things off, and just so we can kind of pay attention, to our behaviors in the now, and how that transit of standing for higher principles comes into play as we watch it. Again, also this search for inner truth. Now, we are continuing our journey through form, and we are now at the halfway point. What's very interesting is we've been taking a look at all of these traits that are connected to communication and action. This trait grounds us back into identity and direction. So last week, we took a look at the fourth of the individual voices when we took a look at caution in the 12. today we're going to take a look at diversity, and we're going to take a look at the love of humanity in identity and direction. And then we will move away from communication and action and really focus on 3 of the pressure traits. So we're going to move into drive and stamina and take a look at stillness, take a look at obstruction, taking a look at beginnings. And then we'll move back up to communication and action and finish up the last 4 voices of details, stories or stimulation, influence, and retreat. So again, just to kind of get an overall sense of the journey as we move through form. So today our focus is really about the diversity, the love of humanity in identity and direction. And again, it's very interesting to see how this is one of the major topics that we're seeing in the news as well. So what is this trait 15, this trait of diversity? It's the love of humanity, and it's also about extremes. So it's the quality of behavior which expresses the proper balance between extremes. It's also the capacity to accept and find a place in society for the full spectrum of human behavior. And it's a lack of fixed patterns. On the other side, you have the 5, which is fixed patterns and rhythms. Here you have a lack of fixed patterns that ensures that each of us is able to make a contribution to the world in diverse way and in the diverse ways that love exists in the world. I think that's really beautiful to know that, again, we are all here for a reason. We are all have our own purpose. We all have our unique design. We're all a piece of the puzzle. And so each of us is able to make a contribution to the diverse way that love exists in the world. And bringing diversity into the flow of life is what it's all about, and accepting other people's extremes without judgment. Right? So we can also take a look at all of the extremes. Again, it's connected to behavior as well, right? So also not only the diversity, but also taking a look at the extremes of behavior as well, and seeing how that shows up and being able to see it, being able to witness it, being able to, take it all in without judgment. Now that's a difficult thing to do. Again, we're also taking a look at standing for higher principles. So, how can we do this in a way that we can still stand for higher principles and still do that without judgment? So it's really, in a sense, being true to yourself. When we take a look at higher principles, that's what it means for me. What higher principles mean for me is following my own decision-making strategy and being true to what is true for me, standing in my own higher principles. So it's not a moral judgment. It's, taking a look at, you know what, that doesn't really work for me, and this does work for me, right? But that's what works in my world or not. Yeah, so I'd love to hear your perspectives, and I know Natalie, you have the 15, so I'd love to hear a little bit about your experience in having this trait of the 15.
Yeah, so it's unconscious for me, but it's in the judge and discipline, and this is something I truly live. Like, it's so me. And I've multiple people saying that to me in different settings, right? And also before I knew human design and BG5, so how I experience it, I really like, in general, that the world or our society appreciates homogenized behavior, right? That's kind of the norm. And I really have a it's more of because it's love of humanity. It's more of the empathy or just let everybody be. I believe it's one of the things I say a lot, like, be yourself. But I can truly be acceptant of diversity in people. So I really love all of the different types of humanity, and even if I do not agree yeah, or it's not my way of doing, you may do your way. So this
Yep.
without judgment, it is really and it really comes from within. And I know that I work closely together also with Linda here in the Netherlands, and she says it's amazing how you kind of look at people, but also just, you know, don't take it personal, or um, and be acceptant of, you know, every single one. And what I loved, so if you can put back the slide of with the description, um, it is truly about the full spectrum of human behavior. So the thing that I really, really love also about human design is that everybody is different. Everybody brings their own thing to the world. We exist, so we are worthy. There is a reason for us. We are a puzzle piece in the whole, right? So, and we, if we would all have the same role and the same task, or to bring something in the same, then you know, why would we have billions of people? Not necessary, right? So, and then to see, you know, each role, and even if there is a challenging person in your life or something, they are here to bring you a lesson, so to say, right? So it is meant to be that you are engaging, you know, the universe is just, you know, so that's one aspect. The other aspect, it is also a trait that is in the penta. So in the small group, as well as in the large group, it's the business skill, and then it's the business skill of reliability. And this is the how do you say it, the magnetic pool of, you know, pooling the diversity of people into a group, and kind of, and this is that I just do it automatically. I know you also said to me, it's just something like I reach out if I feel like I don't hear something of, you know, Chris or Lavina or whatever. It's like uh, you know, getting everybody okay, you know, just to be a group. And I've been told in, you know, way before I knew human design, that I'm the glue in the organization, which is so literally what this is about. So I, even if there was kind of a disharmony in the group between people that they couldn't stand each other or whatever, I talked to each and I kind of let them see the other side of, you know, what's on the other side, and then talk to the other and then get them together or something. It's really, this is just what I do. And it's so kind of, you know, natural that I was amazed that that when I got this appraisal and they told me that I'm the glue in the organization, I'm like, yeah, you know, what do I do? You know, like it's kind of, for me, it was something that doesn't everybody, or is that so, you know, it's so automatic. And now I realize, you know, it's and this is the beauty about to know to understand what you have and to be able to live it. It is not a it's not a job you need to acquire or to do. You are, right? And
Yep.
in that, so what comes easy is actually, you know, what you are here to bring.
Yeah.
And that's very different for everybody. And so I love human design, especially for this, right? So this is, yeah, anyway, I hope
I
I
love
can
it.
talk
I
about
love
this.
it.
Yeah.
And you really do bring that reliability. You really do bring the team together. You really, you know, it.
Yeah, and also in now having, you know, more and more instructors coming on board, so I also noticed that people kind of, you know, reach out to me like, Natalie, do you know where I can find this, instead of reaching out to you, for instance, like just having this easy peasy kind of, you know. And then I go like, so do you have everything, do you miss anything? Okay, you know. And it's, yeah, it's, I don't know. And it, yeah, it must come from something of this. It's yeah,
Yeah.
anyway.
I think that's a beautiful representation. I think you are a beautiful representation of how it really does operate. And you certainly bring that to our team for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you, Natalie. And anything, Chris, that you want to add?
Oh, that was a great description, Natalie. I loved, you know, how you pointed out in the penta as well as individually. know somebody who has this one, and it's funny because it's in their conscious sun, and that whole thing of like it's the love of humanity or not, because there's I see like this great grace for diversity in that, and then sometimes in this person not at all, and it's fascinating. Or resenting being the glue, resenting being the one to pull it all together. Like, why do I have to do this? It's so annoying. And this person doesn't know that much about their design as far as these nuances. So it's kind of, it's just interesting to, um, as you're describing that, go, oh, you know, and this is one of the, I think the beautiful things about understanding our designs is sort of, it helps us to understand why we do those things, and that there's no right or wrong in it. It's the capacities that we have and the energies that we bring. And we can either judge ourselves for it or resent that other people don't have it and that we're the ones who have to be the glue. But if you could look at it and go, that's my gift, that's my contribution, it can be a totally different experience of the same trait. And I think it really does come down. What I love about this is that it just shows us this is how the energy flows. This is the capacities you have. You can either work against it and judge it or be upset about it, or you can say, wow, that's really cool. That does work that way. And it works really well in this group and not so well in this group. Or it works really well here and not so great here. You know, and that just gives us place to explore, you know, and contemplate. So
yeah, beautiful.
One more thing that I'm just, you know, it's also extremes, and this is the other thing, my rhythms, because you know the full strength, and I know Karen and Lavina have the other side, right? The fifth trade 5, which is, you know, the fixed patterns. So the full strength is patterns and rhythms, and I'm on the extreme. So like like trying to get me into do this and instead get out of bed at this time each day, then brush your teeth, then do that. That's terrible. I've never liked those kind of, and in this is also in businesses that they have, you know, these planning coaches and etc. And well, if you just have a regular daily blah blah blah, well, that's you know, it just doesn't work, and it flows away. I try it 2 days or a week or whatever, it doesn't work. So it's literally, sometimes I'm like so tired, nothing get out of my hand, and sometimes I'm really excited about something and I work like until, I don't know, 1 2 a.m. or something. And then, you know, it may be a week like this, and then I just go to bed at 7 p.m. or you know, it's there is no rhythm. It is really extremes. And I just, you know, and since knowing this, I embraced it even more. Like, you know, it'll come when it comes, but it's not meant to be in a structure. I hate structure.
I love that. I'm really glad you brought that up.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because I'm thinking about this person. I'm like, oh, they totally operate in extremes, and that's so great. I love that you said that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'd love to hear the other side, because it's truly different. It's yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Lavina, do you want to speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, if we just think about where the sun is right now, this is the summer solstice. Yeah, we just had that. And so think about how expansive and extreme that solar energy is, that sun, and how reliable it is, and how bright it is, and how extreme it is. Now, if we flip it to the other side, here's myself with a 5. I have the 5 twice, and I need fixed patterns. And anytime this transit comes in, what can happen to a 5 is that they get sucked into a different flow, because that powerful energy is so extreme, and it draws us out of our patterns and our rhythms. So it can be very uncomfortable. It can be, for anybody who has an undefined energy resource, very exhausting. I don't know if you can tell, I can feel it in my body, where my body is just completely drained. And there's not that same kind of vibrancy, because I don't have the fixed rhythms, my rituals and routines, because my exhaustion caused me to go to bed very early last night, didn't sleep well. I mean, it's just, there's just so many things to know about the dynamic, because these are oppositions, not oppositions, but very different from each other. So they do have a flow and a rhythm, but it's when it's in one person that flow really has a response to life. And when there's just one side or the other, you get to see how very different they are. And it's one of the most challenging electromagnetics to have in a partnership.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have that with my husband, so I can speak about that.
Yep. Yep. I do too. Yeah. And, you know, so, you know, I have my own patterns and rhythms, and then getting thrown off by extremes, and it can be being thrown off by extremes with, you know, what's happening right now. And it can be with other people as well. Yeah. And Belinda's saying, oh my God, Lavina, I have the 5, and today about lunchtime 2 hours ago, I was flat out and had to lay down and go to bed. So glad you shared that. Yeah. You know, so you may be experiencing extremes. And again, especially with the 15 and the 10, the extremes in behavior, you know, staying, as Natalie was saying, staying up all night and working, or, you know, sleeping all day, or, you know, someplace in between. Exactly. And Nina was saying, I took a nap too. And then Lavina's saying, I can't wait for a nap here. Yeah, so it really is, you know, taking a look at, you know, again, not only the love of humanity, but also the extremes, and the extremes of behavior, as we just talked about as well. And if we take a look at the particular trait that we're looking at today, it is, or the particular quality, I should say, the particular quality that we're looking at today is quality 5, which is about sensitivity. Whenever we take a look at the 5 is the messenger. And so this is the ability to sense when otherwise balanced behavior must be adjusted to meet the requirements of the changing environment. And so if we take a look at what the elevation is, this is the power to grow, the capacity of the self to grow through experience and extremes. You know, this is part of what Natalie was talking about too. You know, you may see something that seems really extreme. You can watch it without judgment, right? But you can learn from it. You can learn from the diversity, the different things, and there's a power to grow from that. And the challenge is the tendency to overcompensate, the drive of the self to overcompensate and disturb the flow, right? So again, for especially for anyone who has the trait 5 on the other side, right? That could also be part of what's happening, is that, you know, there's this disruption in flow as well. So, so anything else, Lavina or Chris or Natalie, that you would like to add here?
Well, we have lots of confirmation as well on both sides, both the people who have the 5th trait and the 15 in Facebook. There's Facebook. So that's fun. And I was just reading this one. I have a different quality. So yeah, for me, it's also, I'd love to hear somebody else. For me, it's also, you know, yeah, of course.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, I think it ties right into what you said earlier too, is being able to learn from these extremes. And if everybody was the same, this is one of the things you were talking about, Natalie, if everything and everybody was the same, right? The life would be boring, right? What makes life exciting is, you know, the differences that we have. And I think that's also one of the things that I love about BG5 and human design, is really appreciating those differences, right? Really, you know, when I'm working with my students, or when I'm working with a client, really being able to appreciate, right, what their challenges are, what their uniqueness is, what their brilliance is, it may be very different from me, and that's what makes it interesting. That's what makes it exciting. That's what makes it fascinating. And it's also a place, where every person that I work with, every student that I have, I continue to learn. I continue to grow. I continue to, just in kind of being sensitive to what's there, what the challenges, what the struggles are, what the brilliance is, right? There's this whole power to be able to grow and learn and understand from all of that diversity.
Yeah, and what I get from this quality, and especially the lifelong learning, what's the saying again? The only constant is change, or the only thing that's sure is change. And we grow through, there we go again. But the individualism the individual energy in the chart, and this is collective, by the way, but is the one that brings change, right? And this is kind of how the collective takes it and adjusts it in groups, essentially, because it's a trait that's very specific also in groups. And then changing with the environment. If you stay doing the same, and that's something we talk about in the BG5 certification course as well, and about the Penta. If you keep on doing the same, or what's the beautiful example, the videos, or the VHR, or what was called, or then you will lose out in the competition in the marketplace. But also, if you yourself are not growing, you will have a harder time coming along in the world. So the world evolves, the world, and this is something that may help you to adjust.
Right. Exactly. Beautifully said, Natalie. How about for you, Lavina? Anything that you would like to add?
I was just typing back to the girls in the room about how I've noticed every year this 15 is a hard transit for me, and without fail. And hopefully this time I'll remember next year to schedule a week off, because it's not something to sneeze at when. And the most important thing that your mind does is it says there's something wrong with me. Oh, maybe I'm sick. Oh my God, what if I, and it goes into all this fear mode. And if I could just remember, oh yeah, that's what happens to me every year. It's not just because it's hot or I didn't get good sleep. It's just this transit. So to allow for downtime, if there's a weather aspect of the weather that really affects you every year, now you can mark your calendars. Help, mark your calendars. Let's all take a vacation, fellow fives.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
I love that. And not only that, we have kind of double duty with the 15, because it's also in the future direction as well. Yeah. Lavina was saying, thanks for sharing, Belinda and Nina and Susan. Yes, this week the 15 is a hard transit for every year without fail. Next time, perhaps I'll remember to schedule a week off. Yeah, vacation for the 5s. Luckily, I did take a week off, so it's good. It's good. Very cool. Anything, Chris, that you would like to add?
Well, I was just going to say, maybe for the, since it's going to be in the transit here for a while, just take the rest of the month off, She's like, screw it, I'm done. I'm just going to go to the beach with Natalie and just, hang out.
Actually, I told my husband that this morning. Yeah, I told my husband that this morning. I said, you know what? I think I'm just going to have to make sure I shut everything down for the rest of the month. I can't do this anymore. It's just too much, And I was a bit overwhelmed. And anytime that get that overwhelmed feeling, it's like, this is what's going on. It's just too much. And when enough is enough, we get that enough when it's just too much. We have to pull back.
Exactly. Exactly. And Belinda was asking, when does it move out of the 15? So the core essence, it'll move out of the core essence in a couple of days. As far as the future direction, I believe it's August 9th that it moves out of, somewhere at the beginning of August, where it moves out of the future direction. So just to give everybody a heads up there. And of course, we do have a celebrity too. I thought this was interesting. This is, I don't know if many of you know her, but if you have ever watched The Office is hilarious. And she's actually, I didn't realize this until I pulled this up. But Mindy Kaling, she first gained recognition starring as Kelly Cooper in the NBC sitcom The Office. Which she served also as a writer, executive producer, and a director. And so if you take a look at what the life work theme is, it's about preservation. It's about, you always seem to meet what doesn't work. It's a gift when used to lovingly guide society away from making the same mistakes over again. And if you take a look at what The Office is all about, the Office is about, you know, all these people working in the office, and, you know, all of these just, you know, mistakes and silly things that happen within the office. And I found it really interesting that she took on the role of the character debuting in the series' second episode, which was called Diversity Day. So that's when she also debuted in the series. So again, with the 15 being diversity, her debuting in Diversity Day, and also just, again, the writing of the Office, and helping with the writing with the Office, you can really see how, you know, how that shows up within her design. So once again, you know, I was having a hard time finding someone, and then once I pulled her up and started to look further, I was like, oh, this is perfect.
That's amazing. I love that. I just love seeing how they always fit, and just where, you know, and again, you guys have heard us say it, it's like our design does us, not the other way around. And when you really, we will find those roles, we will play those parts, we will express these things in the world, whether we know that we are or not. It just happens. So
Yeah,
it's really fun.
exactly. Yeah. Nina was saying, I love her. Check out her latest movie, Late Night, with Emma Thompson. Sounds like she plays that similar role. Yeah, and she also had a TV show called The Mindy Project, so her own show as well. So again, it's always this kind of coming up against, you know, that's what makes it a sitcom. That's what makes it funny, right? Is this, you know, coming up against things that don't work, and then lovingly guiding society away from making the same mistake over and over again. So I thought it was really perfect. Beautiful. Well, beautiful. Well, thank you everyone for being with us. And again, if you are new to BG5 and human design, you want to find out a little bit more about your career design. So again, in BG5, we are the business and career application of the human design system. You can check out our website at bg5businessinstitute.com. You can get a free report. Also, if you want to take a look at what the weather report is for the day, you can also check out our BG5 Live. It will show you, again, what that core essence for the day is all about, so you can sort of see what the theme is for the day. You can also take a look at our past episodes in the free resource library. So if you ever want to watch any of the past episodes, you can take a look at that. And also check out our courses and programs. Chris is teaching the BG5 Foundation course. It's coming up, is it next week?
Next Tuesday. Yeah.
Next Tuesday. So you also can attend the first class free. So if you go take a look at the foundation course, look it up, you can attend the first class free. So we invite you to join us on that journey. Also, if you have some background and you've gone through the foundations, either in BG5 or in human design, Lavina is teaching the certification course. She's taught the first course or the first class, and you can still review the first class free as well, and then continue on if you have that background. So please be sure to join us. So what I'd like to do is wrap up. I see there's an article that Natalie shared from Edgar. I'd love to hear what you said, and then we'll wrap up by just kind of taking a look at what are some things just to pay attention to and be aware of in this coming week.
Yeah, so the title is Mayor Unveils Commission to Review Diversity of London's Public Realm. So since there are 300 languages spoken every day in London, but the street names, etc., reflect most of the Victorian Britain highlighted, so now they want to have more diversity and talking about diversity and acknowledging that. So that was the article. Interesting.
Yeah, great example.
Well, I like the love of humanity, color, skin, religion, whatever, it's we're all human, and everybody is unique and different. And we are not meant to all love the same types of things, do the same types of things, whatever, we have a whole wild world. There's enough, space and tasks and jobs and whatever. And we have all our divine role in the world. So, just unite as humanity. That's my message.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, Natalie. How about for you, Lavina?
She's sleeping.
The only other thing to remember. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah. No, you're good. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. The only other thing to remember in this time of immense pressure, because we have several activations down in our drive and stamina that are strongly individual, in addition to that strength, the two strengths that we have activated, awareness and principles. They're both very deep, and they take you to a very inner place for knowing can happen, this fertile, rich ground of inner truth. And that's something that is influencing us strongly. And one of the things that might happen with all of the chaos and confusion that is happening in the world around us, there might be these moments of real sadness. So doing your best to not label or make the sadness wrong, but actually aligning yourself to going inward and finding the strength within to shine your inner light into those dark hidden places within that might be feeling kind of sore or tender, and allowing yourself to cry if you need to express your creative muse, to dance, to sing, to relieve some of this pressure without having to make anything bad or wrong because you don't feel good. That's probably one of the things that I'm learning as I go. And just allowing yourself to slow down if you need to.
Yeah. Oh, beautifully said, Lavina. I think that is really important because, again, this whole year has just been one crazy event after the next crazy event. And so and with all of the craziness, there is sort of a letting go, or there is a sadness, or there can be anger. There can be a wide range of emotions that we may be experiencing and feeling, based on what we're seeing or based on what we're experiencing. And what Lavina says, I think, is really spot on, is just, really allow yourself, to go through that, and allow yourself to go inward and to find that own inner wisdom, your own inner truth, what's true, and what higher principles, what do you stand for? What is true for you, right? You can still accept that diversity and realize that different people approach things in different ways, and it's okay. And so really beautifully said, Lavina. Thank you. How about for you, Chris?
Yeah, I was just going to say pretty much what you just summed up, Karen. I thought you said it beautifully. So I'm going to leave it at that, what she said. Yeah. Nice.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. So, part of the love of humanity is loving yourself.
Yes.
right? That's what grounds us. What grounds us is the love of ourselves. And the more that we can fully love, trust, and accept ourselves, the more we can fully love, trust, and accept humanity and all the diversity. So, just tying back to what Lavina said, take care of yourself, right? Love yourself. Go inward. What is true for you? And always, again, amidst this craziness, the only way to really stay safe, stay grounded, is really follow your decision-making strategy. Follow your decision-making strategy. Allow yourself to be wherever you need to be. Allow yourself to look within, and see what's truly true for you. So thank you to each and every one of you. It's great to have you here on this Tuesday afternoon. And we will see you all next week as we continue on looking at form. And again, I forgot what it is next week that we take a look at. Do you guys remember? I think it is, what are we looking at next week? Whoop, that's not it. Next week, we are looking at, stillness, right? So yeah, we're taking a look at the 52, which is stillness. So amongst all of this craziness, right? Being able to slow down, be still, meditate. So that's what we'll talk about next week. All right, everyone. It has been great having you all here, and we will see you all next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.